Uh, uh, uh.
Hey, sports fans, this is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this fine Saturday morning here in Columbus, Ohio. I got my main man, FanDuel Zaya, with me this morning of the FanDuel Zaya and also of WTP Sports Dudes. How you feeling this morning, brother? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm ready to get into this action. Definitely want to send out my prayers to Level Up Sports 10 and JoJo. He's going through some family matters right now, so we got you in our prayers, brother.
Definitely prayers for him and his family, his son. Hopefully everything goes well. I appreciate you mentioning that also, Fandozea. This will be our show called What's Happening College Football, Episode 1, where we're going to talk about college football on Saturday mornings. But we got some other shows coming up that we're going to have throughout the week that my man Fandozea is going to be heading up. So make sure you tune into those as well. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors for who sponsored this show for us this morning. We got our man Super Cat Nano 2820, who sponsors all of our music, who sponsors our show, who makes sure that we have legit intros and extras, if that's a word. Also, our man K and T's Good Eats. Him and his wife has a fabulous catering company that they cater food for weddings, parties, you name it. They cater really good food. You can find them at Instagram at Kevin J. Bird. That's Bird spelled Byrd on Instagram. Trust me, when you see those pictures, you will see how good that food looks. And when you taste it, you're going to find out how good it tastes. Also, his sister owns a nutrition shake spot called Social Nutrition Sips and Good Conversation right there at 3136 South Hamilton Road, just right past Refugee Road here in Columbus, Ohio. So make sure you go check her out so you can get your nutritious energy shake. Also, you can get energy teas. She got everything you need to make sure that you can supplement one of your meals instead of eating so much. You can supplement one of those shakes and they'll carry you to that next meal. Make sure you check her out. Also, our young buck got his own apparel line, the Chief. 5991. You can find him on Instagram and on TikTok at the Chief. That's DECHIEF .5991. Go on there and check out some of his apparel. The young man is dope at that game when it comes to producing apparel, and you can get you some authentic pieces as well. So this morning, we really want to talk about the conferences in college football. And to start us off, what are your thoughts on the Big 12 football conference? Its teams, its coaches, things that are happening in the Big 12. What's your thoughts? And then we'll have some more questions based on whatever our thoughts are.
The Big 12 was really competitive last year. They had a gang of teams that was vying late in the season for who was going to win that conference. Um, One thing that we seen of reports that came out though, this is what I'm confused about with the Big 12. I thought the Big 12 was so much better than the ACC last year, and to know that the ACC broke their record for the distribution to their schools, um, with the money that they brought in as revenue. Do you understand that the Big 12 was almost $250 million under that, and that they had more competitive teams last year? I just when you look at the money, you think the money first. You'd be like, all right, wherever the money is, that's where the talent and the competitiveness is gonna come from. And for them to be able to be as competitive as they were last year and have as many teams that they had last year, and we seen the Heisman Trophy winner from the same conference last year. I thought that was amazing. They only have $470 million distributed to their schools. So, and the report came out that the ACC was about 711 million. But for that to be such a big difference and them to still be competitive, we gotta understand they must have way better coaches in that conference or something. That's a testament to coaching, and maybe even talent identifying. You know what I mean? So I think the Big 12 is, as long as they can stay the course. Colorado Prime, he's going to bring in more money. I would expect that number to go way up. I don't know what their media rights is looking like. If they got to rework a media right contract, or did they just get one? I'm gonna have to look into that. But the Big 12 is going to be between them and the ACC, who's going to jockey for that next position of which conference is going to be best. And I think right now the Big 12 got a leg up.
All right, we got our man post game joining us as well. Right now, post game, we're talking about what's your thoughts on the Big 12 conference, and then we'll have some other questions that'll come out of our statements that we make.
We
No,
can't hear you. We can't hear
no,
you,
we can't.
Post.
Yeah, while he's working on his audio, I I hear everything that you're saying, and that is spot on. And you would think that because they had at the top of their conference, the Big 12 I'm talking about, they have far more better teams at the top of their conference. And I think that their games were a lot more competitive than what I've seen in the ACC top to bottom.
Yeah.
Even teams that we thought in the ACC that were good, whenever they played a good team in the SEC, they got thumped. So, but in the Big 12, you saw a lot more parity there, and I'm anxious to see what Colorado does this year. Can they stay up at the top? Can Utah rebound from having the quarterback injuries that they had last year? Can they rebound and be a team that can get up towards the top? Can BYU sustain this thing? Can Matt Campbell keep the Iowa State Cyclones up there along with Kansas State? Will Kansas turn it around and not have bad losses in the beginning of the season and couple that with the good wins that they had at the end of the season? I'm anxious to see what that all looks like. Can Cincinnati become relevant again? They went to the college football playoffs like 5 years ago, and I think it was 5 years ago,
Somewhere around there.
somewhere around there. Can
When
they
they
can
had
they be
Desmond
relevant
Ritter.
again? Yeah, so I'm anxious to see some of those things. Do you think that any of those teams can get to the point where they're so competitive that an SEC or a Big Ten will want that team to join their conference?
So, like I said, I think it's always about following the money. So when you do follow the money, who got the money out there? You look at teams like BYU. You look at teams like Texas Tech. Um, them are two names that float. Especially if Prime stays at Colorado, you would have to think at some point they'll get more money because of the attention he's bringing to the conference. So that will set them up to probably take a step up, but it's going to take time. Um, and money equals players. It equals talent. So until some of these schools can separate themselves, because of course, like when you go to the Big Ten, you got the Ohio States, the Oregons, and the Michigans. Them teams got money. That's how they're able to kind of separate themselves in the talent gap. So you said BYU is a Mormon school, right? And
Mhm.
them guys got the money. So I'm gonna look at the money first. Um, and we know what Texas Tech done did in the portal. Texas Tech probably won the portal this year. So we're gonna have to see what the results look like on the field. Um, I think that if they can kind of have a good enough season to where they itching onto that playoff berth, and then they can follow that momentum, um, and likewise with BYU, then I think them are two or three of the schools that could kind of separate themselves from the Big 12, and maybe these two power conferences would look at them, because we don't have a Texas school in our conference. We would possibly want that market though, because that's SEC country. It's never bad to insert a team that's in SEC country, because then it brings more recruits eyes to your conference. So um, them are my two head of the snakes for me because of the money aspect.
Okay, okay. Post game, let us get your thoughts on the Big 12 football conference, real quick, and what teams you think might be one of those teams that could possibly even find themselves in the Big 10 or the SEC at some point.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
good
sir.
morning.
Excellent. As far as the Big 12 goes, for me, I would like to see if Colorado could finally put it all together. Their quarterback situation is going to be different, obviously. I'm a huge fan of Coach Prime. I would like to see if Salter could replace Shador, or if the freshman is going to start, which I doubt. It'll probably be Salter at quarterback. But Arizona State, could they possibly repeat their success this coming football season? You still got TCU there, you got BYU. But me personally, I would like to see Colorado take that next step. Maybe they retooled on the offensive line and they can get that together. Possibly even have a running game this year. Because I'm all in on Coach Prime. I think he's good for college football. And I would like to see Colorado have some success.
For sure, for sure. Let's look at what Texas Tech did in the portal and the money that they have dished out to some guys in order to bolster that team so that they can be competitive in the Big 12. What's your thoughts on what they've done in the portal, and do you think that they're going to be one of the top teams in that conference?
Uh, I mean, you got to put it on the field. You still got to put it on the field. But as far as what they did in the portal, they got a lot of the top guys positionally, um, in a lot of position groups that they needed. So, and this is another thing. So they got some kids on the offensive line that I'm talking about. I can't think of the kid's name. He's about 6'8", though, 315. He came from North Carolina. You're not seeing these type of dudes in the Big 12. Not that size, bro. Them are SEC and Big 10 type of guys that you see on that offensive line. But they got to put it out on the field, and we got to see if they could put it together, because one thing I get nervous about is, and we always look at Florida State with this, you cannot go into that portal and think you about to get 30 dudes and 40 dudes and put them on your team and think it's going to just mesh. It got to be some type of team chemistry going on. But as far as talent, we know talent is on that roster. So it's just going to be about if they can put it together, man. And they got a tough schedule. They play, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think 4 of their top 5 games is on the road. So that schedule always matter too.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Getting guys in the portal is always exciting for a fan base when you see these caliber of players they're getting. But sometimes when you build your team through the portal, you need 2 years for camaraderie. Sometimes it doesn't hit, especially at the quarterback position. You need more than 1 year for that talent to translate on the field. These guys are coming in learning new systems, new teammates and whatnot. So I would be excited for my portal additions if I'm a school like Texas Tech, but I personally don't see them having much success on the field this season.
Yeah, I like what you both have shared so far about Texas Tech. And the thing is, they did get these players, but do they got the culture there at Texas Tech? Does McGuire have the culture there now that they don't have a Texas on the schedule? Now they always got up for Texas whenever they played, except for when Texas was just way too talented for them. And I think McGuire will have those guys ready to play, and I think they're going to be a good team in the Big 12. In the Big 12, but as Fan Duzea said, their schedule is tough, man. They got to go to Kansas State. They got to go to Arizona State. They got to go to Utah, and they got to go to Houston, who sometimes Houston can give you some problems. Um, and I think they gotta go to West Virginia. Now I don't know what West Virginia is going to look like this year with a new coach, new system, but those are some tough road games. But I think the home games that they have, their fans are phenomenal when it comes to supporting that team. So I think their home games are going to be cool. But on the road, they got some tough road matchups. And if they can weather that storm, I think they could be a legitimate contender in the Big 12. Anything else y'all want to add about the Big 12 before we move on to the next conference?
Yeah, I mean, they still got that BYU game lurking at the end of the season too. So I
Yeah,
think
sure
that
do.
could be possibly a game that determines the Big 12 for real. Seeming just if everything goes right for Texas Tech, I believe. I know I'm going to get a good football team out of BYU. Um, but that game could definitely determine a lot. That game and the Arizona State game. I'm definitely going to be keen eyed on both of them games to see which way them games swing.
Cool, cool. What's your thoughts on the ACC football conference?
Go ahead, Post.
Florida State. Nah, shout out to my man Mossberg, man. The ACC, I think it's Clemson's conference to lose. Uh, Florida State, we'll see if they can bounce back with the new quarterback, the transfer from Boston College. Uh, Syracuse could be a sneaky team. They got the quarterback from Notre Dame who stepped in during the playoff run when Riley Leonard got hurt and made some big plays and re-energized the team to eventually get Notre Dame to win over Penn State. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, and again, I think it's Clemson's conference. You might see Florida State bounce back. I doubt it, but with a scrambling quarterback like they just got from Boston College, I mean, anybody can go from a bottom team to a contending team in that conference. So I think the ACC belongs to Clemson until further notice.
Yeah, man, the ACC is gonna be trash again this year. It's just tough, bro. We know what we got with Clemson. We've seen in this playoff era when you return a lot of production and they made it to the playoffs as well. So they returned a lot of production from that team. They did lose Pat Bryant, and the other guy that was on the other side, and then they did lose Phil Maffa. It's gonna be tough to replace them guys. I know they got some guys in the portal, but at the very least, though, you return. I think they returned 3 or 4 of their offensive linemen and their starting quarterback. So you should be in good hands with that. They had a defensive coach hire that they really excited about over there. So, but let's just leave Clemson out of this for a second. Let's talk about everybody else. And this is why the conference was trash last year. Post game, you said Florida State to start off with. That's the first mistake. Um, I don't want to kick my dude Moss while you down, but do y'all realize that Florida State did the same thing again? They took all these dudes out of the portal, and they done damn near revamped their whole coaching staff. I have no faith in them this year. You got to let all that stuff work itself out. I think the only dude that they do got that was on the coaching staff last year might be Mike Norvell. Everybody else it's like brand new dudes. I can't see it happening. This is not the state of the program right now. And then Miami, we had a lot of questions about Carson Beck, his arm. It's good that he's out here now slinging the rock, throwing the ball around. He looked good in the videos that I seen. But the game started in 2.5 months, 3 months. Is he going to have that chemistry built with them receivers? And quite frankly, coming into it, I think the second best team in the ACC is Georgia Tech. And that's just from what I know. I seen last year they did lose their top receiver target to the portal, but they still got that 1-2 punch in that quarterback and that running back. So watch out for Georgia Tech. And we know SMU still got money. They lost Brashard Smith, but they still got Kevin Jennings. So I will keep a keen eye on them. But their schedule is way rougher than it was last year. So do I think they just going to come out of here scot-free and just do what they did last year in the ACC? I doubt it. I'm thinking that Clemson might make it out of the conference maybe with one loss. Somebody might clip them. But everybody else, I think, is going to beat up on everybody else because they all in the same category. And it might be like a little mini version of what you seen in the SEC last year, where it's not a dominant team. Everybody's kind of grouped in the same category. So you're going to see teams losing to teams that you be like coming into the week like, oh, they should win that game. But nah, you don't understand that they so close and talent-wise that anything can happen if you don't come with your A game. So I think 2 through maybe 8, 7. And I'm going to throw Duke, Georgia Tech, SMU, Louisville, and Miami all in the same category. They all going to beat up on each other.
Yeah, without a doubt. I only mentioned Florida State to mess with my man Mossberg. We already know what time it is when it comes to that program right now. But and North Carolina, man, can Bill Belichick's, his success, can that translate to the college game? Can he get those kids bought into the North Carolina program or really bust? We'll see. NC State, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Boston College. I do like Georgia Tech in that running attack. So I agree with you, man. You'll see Clemson, and then you'll see a bunch of teams kind of, clogged in together. Miami with Beck. I don't see it. I don't. Me personally, I don't see the hype around Carson Beck. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't think he's going to do too much for that program. So when you talk to ACC, Clemson, Georgia Tech, and everybody else.
Hey, listen, post game, everybody know that watches this show, I am not a believer in Carson Beck. But I do know there are terrible defenses in the ACC. I do know that.
Well, he's definitely going to be facing much easier defenses than he faced in the SEC for sure. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he's going to be lights out, like we saw out of Cam Ward last year. But I want if Georgia Tech wins this conference or even plays in the conference championship game, that says a lot about how weak this conference is. A team that's going to just strictly, basically run the football, makes it to your conference championship game. That says a lot about how weak the defenses are in this conference. I don't think they will. I think Haynes King is good at what he does, but I don't think that they're going to be one of those top teams. They're going to shock a team or two like they did last year and play another team or two really, really well. But I'm anxious to see what SMU is going to do. Can you duplicate what you did last year? Even though you got that NIL money, can you do it again? I don't think they will. I don't think Miami will be as good offensively as they were last year, but I think they will be better defensively than they were last year. Will they make it to the conference championship game? I don't know. The verdict really is out on this conference because outside of Clemson, there's nobody else you really can speak about. And even Clemson has some questions because you don't know what their defense is going to look like with a new defensive coordinator. They just started really using the portal. So I'm anxious to see how all of those things play out. Is there going to be somebody in this conference that's going to take the bull by the horns and compete with Clemson, which I think will probably be the best team in there? Will Louisville be good? They started off hot last year and then they kind of fell off. Pittsburgh started off hot, then they fell off. Can Syracuse be better? Can Boston College be better? Can Virginia Tech be better? There's a lot of teams in there, like Fandu said, from 2 to 8. There's a lot of parity there, but the parity is weak.
It's mid.
Yeah,
hey, and I'm glad you mentioned Virginia Tech because that's one of my sleeper teams as well in the ACC with Kyron Drones heading that charge on that football team. And I think a lot of people are high on Georgia Tech just because of the schedule alone that they drew this year, though. Man, listen. If they can squeak out that win against Clemson in their third game of the season, the ACC better watch out because they don't play nobody. They play Wake Forest on the road, Virginia Tech on the road at home, Duke on the road, Syracuse, North Carolina State on the road, Boston College on the road, Pittsburgh, and then they finish with Georgia, of course. But I'm just saying, like, if they beat Clemson, they'd be favored in every game after that. If they beat Clemson week 3, week 4, whatever week that is, they'll be favored every game after that.
Do they have Vanderbilt again this year?
No.
Tech?
No. Oh, you said Virginia? Do Virginia Tech play Vandy?
I think they have a home with Vandy. I think.
Yeah. They'll
get Vandy at the crib. They won't get Vandy in Nashville. So that'll be a good test for them.
Yeah.
Early in the season.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do though this year.
Yeah, me too. Because they're not sneaking up on anybody this year, but we'll talk about them. Do y'all got anything else that y'all want to talk about the ACC before we move on to the next conference? Mossberg was good. We're glad to see you in there. And yeah, post game, just giving you a little something because you're not here today and just to give the rag on your Florida State boys. We hope that they're good now because we don't want to do you like we did you last year, bro. We do not want that for you and Deswan Townsend and our man John Mickens. But if they you already know we're going to be on your head every week.
Man, I want y'all to be bad again so I could talk my shit. It's like that.
What's your thoughts on the SEC football conference?
I mean,
go ahead, bro.
I mean, it's the SEC. I hope they bounce back. From the beginning to about the middle of the year, everybody was screaming SEC was the best conference still. They probably going to go into this year screaming the same thing. I think it's a little water got poured on the fire a little bit, though, because of the outcomes that we seen last year. But as far as we know, the coaches is there. We know the talent is in the conference. We know they got money out there, so the SEC should be right there when it comes to the end of the year. As far as the SEC race, um, I would say coming into the year, my favorite to win the conference got to be South Carolina, Lenore Sellers. Um, but now we know when you get to these SEC and these Big Ten, it's a little different. You can have a favorite going into the season, but week by week, once you learn more information, you have to recalibrate your position. You know what I'm saying? So I'm coming into the season, I'm saying South Carolina is my favorite, but after week 4, it could be somebody totally different. That's the only thing of teams in the SEC. SEC is more depth right now than it is top heavy though. So we'll see if they beat up on each other again this year and how that play out.
Yeah, absolutely, my man. The SEC, I think I would have to lean to Texas winning the SEC this year, especially if Arch Manning is the quarterback everybody believes he's going to be. You can never count out Georgia with the kind of talent they get year in and year out. And to me, I think Kirby Smart is the best college football coach right now, in my opinion. LSU, we know another talented roster. We talked about Brian Kelly being on the hot seat. Can he put it all together this year? I mean, that's something I'm looking at. And then good point on South Carolina with Sellers. I really like that young man, man. He can sling that rock, really athletic quarterback. So I I would if I was to bet money, I would put my money on Texas winning the SEC this year. But man, it really could go Georgia. You can't count them out. And if LSU finally puts it all together, you could see them sneaking up to that one spot. So the SEC will be exciting this season, my man.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how it all plays out as well. I think if Sellers can stay healthy, now I don't know, they lost some pieces defensively, but I think they can replace those guys because they did really, really well in the recruiting, and they did really well. They did decent in the portal. They got two big games on their schedule that I think they have to. They got more than two, but the two I'm really looking at is the Clemson game at the end of the season, and then I think at the beginning of the season they got somebody tough too. I had to look at that schedule again, but I'm anxious to see what Sellers could do. At first, I thought Aaron Nolan going there was a bad choice because I thought Sellers had uh, 2 more years before he could go into the NFL, but he can go next year. So Aaron Nolan going to South Carolina is actually a okay move, and the fact that the way they run Sellers, sometimes Sellers missed some time last year. He might even miss some time this year, and Errol Nolan might be able to get a little bit of run. So I'm keeping a close eye on that South Carolina team. I want to see if Alabama is going to be better, and I think Mossberg had that thought in the chat too. Who's Bama this year? I'm anxious to see if he can get that, Kellen DeBoer can get that thing turned around because he's starting to get his players in there. Will they be solid? And can Texas get over the Georgia hump? They have to be able to get over the Georgia hump. They got a tough road schedule in terms of going to the Swamp and going to Athens. Um, and Oklahoma's going to be better this year, but they get Arkansas and they get Texas A&M at home. So I think there's a lot that we have to wait and see play out, and we'll see some things at the beginning of the season. We'll see some more things at the middle of the season, but it's really going to come down to what happens at the end of the season for this conference, just like it did last year. It just didn't unfold until the last few weeks of the season to find out who was going to be in that conference championship game, which might not take place this year. We'll have to wait and see.
How you guys feel about Texas A&M this season?
I don't feel nothing about no Texas A&M. I don't feel something about their bones.
You funny. Oh man. I mean, I'm kind of optimistic, man. Mike Elko, I don't know, man. Something just didn't fit right with me last year with Mike Elko. It probably was when he inserted Marcel Reed. I can't remember what the game was. He inserted Marcel Reed, and Marcel Reed just started taking. Oh, it was the LSU game, I believe. Marcel Reed started taking off, and then he came the next week and benched him. So that's a whole coaching like thing, bro. So if I feel like you coaching your teams out of games, bro, it's hard for me to get on your bandwagon, bro. So I just don't think Mike Elko is gonna make the right decisions at the right time. So I'm optimistic on Texas A&M. I think the talent is there, man, and College Station is a one of a kind type of atmosphere in college football, man. So if they can get it right, bro, they could be a problem. But I really don't. I done lost faith in Mike Elko a little bit. So yeah, just optimistic.
Yeah, in all honesty, when it comes to Texas A&M, I think that they have talent and they've been able to do some things in the portal as well as in recruitment. I'm just not sold on Mike Elko yet. You know, a lot of times when you bring in a defensive guy to be your head coach, he has to be paired with a guy offensively who can balance out and they can have equal balance offense and defense. And I don't think they got that yet. I like Marcel Reed and what he can do. He's gonna have to get some more weight on him though. Um, and they could possibly be good because they got two really good running backs, bro. They got if Washington can be healthy, what is his name? Texas was after him tough too. He got a little head case too. I can't think of his name, but anyway, number 4. I think his number is 4. If he can get healthy and stay out there, they got two really good running backs. They got a decent offensive line. I think they can be solid. I don't think they can beat Texas in that rivalry game, which will be on Friday this year at night, which I like. We can get that game out of the way, and we don't have to compete with anybody else on Saturday. But I think that Texas A&M could be a middle of the pack team, and if they get a couple of games here and there, they could be at the top of it, vying for a chance to play for the SEC championship game or whatever other conference games they might have if they go to the 3-6 matchup or the 4-5 matchup.
Yeah, I
Most
want to
of us know what we think about Vanderbilt. Will Vanderbilt give out some lumps to some big teams?
one hit wonder, Moss.
Yeah. They ain't sneaking up on nobody this year, bro.
Yeah, it's a
At
one hit
all.
wonder.
Yeah.
I do want to tap into what Moss was asking about Bama as well though. But go ahead, post game. Go. Well, what do you feel about Vandy?
No, I agree. I don't think Vanderbilt is anything special. I mean, they could sneak up on a team in a trap game. That's about it. But I don't really think too much of Vanderbilt.
They'll be better than Mississippi State, Mossberg. They'll be better
That's
than that.
about it, huh?
That's about
Yeah.
it.
And we're gonna return to the days where you get on DraftKings and whoever Vandy play, you just pick another team, bro.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
but Moss, you said who's Bama this year, um, and I think Bama's gonna be way better than they were last year. But that's not to say that they're going to win the conference because I think South Carolina and Texas is going to be the best two teams in that conference. But when you looked at Bama last year and you seen the games that they lost, you got to ask yourself, why did they lose them games? And the only thing that you can come back to and say is they tried to make Jalen Milroe be something he wasn't. They didn't run the football with Jalen Milroe in them games that they lost last year. They tried to make him sit in the pocket and sling the ball around. That's not him. That's more Ty Simpson's game, though. So we're going to see a way more explosive Ryan Williams this year than we seen last year, just because the quarterback fits the system more this year, in my opinion. So, and we know they got talent all the way around the field, so it's not a talent issue. It's really the players fitting the system. And no, you mentioned um, what's the coach name? What is his name?
Kellen DeBoer,
Kellen DeBoer. DeBoer. You mentioned him getting his players in. I don't think he quite got his players in yet. I think that take like three cycles. About 3 cycles, you done shuffled a lot of them players out. But that's not to mention that he done took over for Nick Saban. We know Nick Saban had players. So, but you need your guys for your system, and that's the thing. But Ty Simpson, I expect him to have a solid year. Um, I think Bama they still gonna finish. I don't think they finished top 3 in the conference. I think they about top 5 though. I got Texas, South Carolina, and maybe LSU definitely ahead of them. And yeah, that's how I feel about Bama. I think they're gonna have a decent year though. Right outside of that playoff berth.
Yeah, and let's just be honest, guys. We know why Mossberg is asking about Alabama because they have to see Florida State the first game of the season. And we know that could get very ugly, maybe 56-3, and maybe you lose your coach that first game. So, yes, Alabama is going to be better this year, Moss. And I would hate to beat Florida State week 1.
That's crazy.
He wants to know, will Jam Miller be Bama's feature star running back?
Absolutely. Jam is a monster. You ever seen his highlight tape? Oh, it's crazy.
So if he is, how well is that going to help open up things for Ryan Williams and the quarterback?
I mean,
Yeah, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
my man.
Go ahead, Pauls.
Yeah, no, anytime you got a running game, I mean, that just makes the game that much easier. You can dictate a lot of things on offense, and it opens up the passing game. So absolutely, if this kid has the goods like we think he does, that would be great for that offense.
Man, Moss, I was one of them people that thought he didn't get the ball enough last year. So, and that's just my position. I feel like they should have did a little more RPO things with um, pulling maybe Ryan Williams across the back line when you snap the ball, and you giving Jalen Milrow an option to hand that ball off and run it, or just throw a little flare pass to Ryan Williams and get him out in space. I don't know. That's DeBoer though. DeBoer's offense is more. He loved more vertical game for real. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. We'll see what happens this year. DeBoer got to adjust to his talent though. He needs to stop making people adjust to him. He needs to adjust to his talent that he got.
Mhm. Yeah, he needed Tom Herman to be his offensive coordinator because he would have been like Bam Bam Sam. Milrow would have been like Bam Bam Sam back when Tom Herman was the head coach and offensive coordinator at Texas. He would have made sure that Milrow got at least 15, 20 carries a game, and the offense would have been running around that kind of setup, and then he would have been able to throw the ball over the top, like you've seen Bam Bam Sam do a few times. Mossberg wants to know, Level Up Sports 10 wants to know, what's Arch going to do this season in the SEC?
I mean, me personally, I expect Arch Manning to be one of the top quarterbacks in college football. Um, he's at Texas. He stayed at Texas and sat behind Ewers for a number of years for a reason. And they're going to unleash the offense under him. I mean, this is a guy who can pass, who can run around a little bit, make plays. So, and I think if I gotta say before we play any football, I think Arch Manning has a chance to be in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah, I could see him being in the Heisman conversation. If Texas is sitting at like 11-1, 10-2 later on in the year, I don't think he's gonna be the top 3 quarterback in the SEC like everybody else, though. I think Lenore Sellers is gonna be one. I think Garrett is gonna be number 2, and somewhere between there is Arch and DJ Lagway. Um, I think though his numbers could possibly look better because of he's going to be on probably the best team or the second best team, um, and I'm just saying as aspect of them other 3 guys, they're going to have to kind of carry their squads a little more than Arch is going to have to. So I'm not going to judge it like, and I'm not to say either though. If all these quarterbacks went to the draft, I would take Arch before all of them. You know, I'm not basing it off of uh, like his capabilities or anything. I'm just saying what the other guys is going to have to do is going to have to be more spectacular for their teams to be in a position of having success.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think that he's going to have a really good season. And I'm not saying it's just because he's a Texas fan, but like you mentioned about Mike Elko, um, adjusting to the talent that he has. Steve Sarkisian understands that he has to adjust to the talent of it that his quarterback has. Because when he first got there, he was trying to run the things that he wanted to run with Hudson Card and uh, Casey Thompson, and those guys really couldn't. They didn't fit his system, so we had lumps those years. But when Ewers got there, he was able to design some things by year 3 for Quinn Ewers that he wasn't able to do in year 2 and in year 1 and 2 with Quinn. So I think he's going to adjust some things with Arch Manning and really be able to produce the vertical game that he really wants to have in his offense because he knows that's one of the skill sets that Arch Manning has. Arch Manning has taken those receivers that he has not thrown much to uh, in his career, and they're all in Louisiana right now, working out until school starts back. So that's a good sign that he's trying to get up to speed with them. We got a tight end that's going to help him because right at the beginning of spring, we thought we was going to have issues at the tight end position, but we got a guy out of the portal who we know is going to help us continue to have a good solid tight end like we have with J.T. Sanders and Gunnar Ham. So I think Arch is going to have a really good season. I can see him having 400 or 500 yards rushing and a little over 3,000 yards passing, up and around the 20s, high 20s in touchdowns, and which will be a really, really good season for a guy in his first year starting.
Yeah, and I want to say too, whichever team does make it to the end and is in that top 2 category, this how deep I think it's not even close too. The SEC quarterback rooms are way better than the rest of the country this year. I'm talking about you got Taylor Green out there still. You got Pavia out there. These are ballers, bro. It's a lot of unproven in the Big Ten right now. So I'm going to hands down give the better quarterbacks to the SEC this year. I think it's some dudes out there, man. Even the dude that transferred to Tennessee, I think he nice. So, I mean, we talk about that might be one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, you know, and I think he could probably start at maybe most of the ACC teams right now. You know what I mean? So, man, listen, it's gonna be some fireworks in the SEC.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the quarterbacks because last year Texas didn't face a lot of really good quarterbacks. We thought that Carson Beck was going to be one of the good quarterbacks that he played, but you see how Carson Beck's season went. Uh, and then we played Arizona State's quarterback, who was probably him and Cade Klubnik was probably the best quarterbacks that Texas faced last year. But this year, Texas is facing some really, really good quarterbacks this year, and that's going to really test their defense. So hopefully, they can pull out those games. But I'm looking forward to Texas facing these really good quarterbacks this year to really see how good they really are.
Just think of this too. Now, this is going to be the interesting part of your schedule. You got DJ Lagway, and then you got John Mateer in back-to-back weeks. It's going to get serious in them 2 weeks right there.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, offensively, we can score enough points. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. If we don't have anything else about the SEC, let's go ahead and talk about the Big Ten. What's your thoughts on the Big Ten football conference?
Man, ooh wee. My goodness, man. The Big Ten, top to bottom, is a nice conference. Um, we got to start with Ohio State, defending national champions. I know y'all had a lot of draft picks in this past NFL draft, FanDuel. So me personally, I want to see how y'all retool and reload across the defensive line and offensive line. We know Ohio State is a talented football team. They get great players year in and year out. So it's just about retooling with them. And then you got to look at Penn State. A lot of people think Penn State has the best running back room in the country. I disagree with that. I personally think Notre Dame does, but that's a discussion for another day. They did lose their running backs coach to Notre Dame too. So can Penn State and that head coach and that head coach they got at Penn State, can they get it together? And can they win the Big Ten? That's going to be exciting. You can't sleep on Oregon. And I just I don't know how long USC is going to be down, man. This is a critical season for that coach and that program, man. They got to make some noise this season. So, I mean, I'm top to bottom, the Big Ten is the Big Ten. But I'm really looking at also, can Illinois can they continue? They kind of been ascending the last few years. So, I mean, it starts with Ohio State and Penn State and Oregon, and then everybody else. But that's a really good everybody else, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I want to see if one of those Pac 12 teams outside of Oregon, former Pac 12 teams outside of Oregon, can get up in the mix, man. Can USC get in the mix? Can Washington get in the mix? Now, we know UCLA can't get in the mix because they don't have the financial tools to be able to do so. Even though I like their coach and what he's going to try to do there, I don't think they have the financial backing to be able to get up in there. Can they do that? And can Illinois possibly be up in the top two, top three, like Indiana was last year? Um, can Penn State get over the hump? Can they get beyond Michigan and Ohio State and possibly even dethrone Oregon? Can they do that? And Ohio State reloads every year, man. And will they always be able to continue to do that if these other teams in the conferences start to get better? Can they sort of get some of these players that Ohio State normally gets and sort of even up the playing field? And what will happen with Michigan with the situations with Sharon Moore and the sign stealing scandal? What's going to happen with that? Because I think a ruling is coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I think beginning of June is coming. Uh, the Big Ten is going to be just as interesting as it was last year. I think. Uh, I'm a homer. I say we gonna win the Big Ten, but like if you want me to just take my homer brain out and just speak from a point of view, man, it's five teams that could win the Big Ten this year. Uh, I mean, Indiana got Fernando Mendenzo. Am I saying his name right? Mendenzo from Cal. Mendoza. That's how you
Yeah.
say it. Uh, bro, I seen dude dropping dimes last year. He just ain't had the talent around him. I think that defense is going to be nice. Again, I think that was their calling card last year. But I like Mendoza. I like him more than I like Curtis Rourke. So, um, but then you got Illinois who got a weak schedule, so they could be sitting right there at the end, 11-1, 10-2. Then you got Penn State, of course, who's returning the most production in the conference. Then you got my Buckeyes, who we got to replace a lot, but we got a lot of experience on that team. We just ain't got a lot of dudes that we told you gotta play 40 snaps a game. And then of course you got Oregon, who got the biggest bag. And I didn't even mention Michigan or Iowa, who I think could clip people. So uh, it's gonna be brutal. But this is the thing about the Big Ten too that I need to say. They got to figure out this scheduling stuff, man. The schedules is it's too volatile. You know what I mean? It's like you got this good team playing all these bottom half teams in the Big Ten, and then you got the other ones playing top 3 out of 5. You know what I mean? It gotta get. We might need to go back to divisions, honestly, just to make it kind of more even for real, and not say like, all right, we playing 9 games. Maybe you play 6 teams from your division and you do 3 cross matches a year or something like that. So we'll figure that out though, because I don't know. Like, it's no way that Ohio State should be playing the most brutal schedule every year. We play the most brutal schedule out of every Big Ten team every year. Not to mention, what has the Big Ten done for Ohio State? The Big Ten don't do nothing for Ohio State. We do everything for the conference, and everybody hate us though. You know, I just don't understand it. I'm starting to feel like, they our lawmakers out down here in Ohio. They're trying to pass a bill to make us not play noon games anymore, because they're all tired. That they're all mad at the fact that we got to play Texas at noon. So, and the penalty would be $10 million if you schedule Ohio State at noon. Any game you schedule Ohio State at noon would be $10 million. Fine.
Wow, really, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like y'all keep on putting us in these noon games and non-prime time games. And honestly, I don't have an issue with it, kind of, sort of. I have an issue with how much it happened. I don't have an issue with it happening against Texas, because if you look at the schedule, we already got primetime games at 3:30 and 7:30. So 12 o'clock, it's an open slot. Everybody gonna be watching that game. That's gonna make the ratings go crazy. So I don't know, but it's gonna be real interesting, man, because I want to see if James Franklin can win a big game. He got his chances on the schedule. He got his chances, so we're gonna have to see, man. Everybody picking Penn State coming in, man. I'm picking the Buckeyes. You know what I mean? Because I just don't see Penn State beating us. They haven't beat us in like 9 years or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
Do
and I'm
y'all
not.
think you
No, go ahead,
go
Post.
ahead,
No,
Mama?
you
No, I
go.
was just going to ask, do y'all think USC can get into contention in the Big Ten this year?
So, Post, I don't think from a bird's eye view, people understand that how decent of a football team USC was last year. They were actually a decent football team. The defense got better. They dropped a couple games that they wasn't supposed to drop though. They lost to Maryland, and they lost to Maryland, and they lost to somebody else. Maryland, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
they shouldn't have lost to Michigan either, but they lost to Michigan too.
it was Minnesota. Michigan ain't a bad loss.
They lost to Minnesota and Maryland.
They lost on the road to Minnesota and Maryland, and they lost both, one by 1 point and one by a touchdown. But outside of that, if they would have won them 2 games, people would be probably talking about them a little different. I think they could scare some people this year, coming into this season. I think the defense got so much better last year from what we seen prior, and we know Lincoln Riley always gonna have a quarterback. He always gonna have a quarterback. So even that last game of the season that they played, they was playing with Notre Dame. They was playing with them. You know, they showed up. They was on that field playing with Notre Dame. So I like what I seen from USC last year. I think the trajectory is steadily going up. Now, do I think they're going to be in the top 5, top-ish of the Big Ten next year? No, I think they're 1 year removed from that. But once they get this recruiting class in and they continue to build on the success that they had last year, I think USC is going to we're going to be talking about USC has arrived.
I don't ever, the way Lincoln Riley was beating my Longhorns, I don't ever even want to give him no credit. But I think this year, maybe not. But the upcoming years, they are, because they're going to be the team in California that's really going to lock it all up, because you don't have to compete against UCLA for recruits. You don't have to compete against Cal. You're the biggest fish in town. So I think after this year, they're going to be a lot better, because those defensive players will be 2 years in that system and be a lot better than what they are last year and this year. He's always going to have a quarterback. He's probably the best offensive mind out there. I just think that if he can get him a solid defensive system, defensive coordinator that can really use the talent that they're going to be able to get, they can be good. Maybe not this year, but the following year and going forward, they're going to be really, really good and competitive in the Big Ten. Post game, I got a question for you, because our man T.Y. feels like Notre Dame needs to join a conference and not continue to keep getting all this money like they got in that national championship game and those other bowl games where they got paid for, being able to do what they do. Do you think there will ever be a time that they will be forced into a conference? And if they are forced into a conference, what conference would you want them to be forced into?
Listen, that's something that I've heard my entire life, is that Notre Dame needs to be in a conference. I always say this: if your team can be independent and take all the cash considerations, still be a national brand, wouldn't you take that? Wouldn't you take that? I don't have to share none of my money with nobody. I'm still Notre Dame is a global brand. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
I mean, anybody would take that. Will they be forced to join a conference soon? I believe so. Just seeing the landscape, just seeing the landscape of college football and how everything is trending to. I believe Notre Dame will be forced to be in a conference soon. Um, but as of right now, hey, I Notre Dame been independent since before our parents were born. So that's just a part of the football brand. I enjoy the independence. I enjoy Notre Dame having a seat at anything that has to do with college football, being independent. It's a flex to me. But 4 or 5 years from now, I believe they will be forced to join the conference, and it's likely going to be the Big Ten. So that's my thoughts on it.
So now they're going to play Texas. I think it's 28, 29?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's one of those. It's those 2 years of home and home. That's going to be in Notre Dame, at Notre Dame in South Bend. I'm doing everything I can to get tickets for that game, bro, and I'm going to be up there in your parts of the woods, bro. For sure.
Man, listen, they gotta force them into a conference though. And look, it don't even need to be all sports. It just need to be football. Cause ain't no way we gotta split 20 million. That's why I went on that rant about the Big Ten don't do nothing for Ohio State. We've been carrying that conference for forever. And y'all telling us we gotta split all this damn money with everybody else? Nah. But Notre Dame get to keep the whole 20 million. That's just kind of ridiculous, bro. I don't know. It's not making the playing field fair, bro, because they're gonna make the playoffs down there every year now.
Yeah. Now in their defense though, if they lose, I don't think they will ever get in there as a 3-loss team like you might get out of some of the conference teams. And in certain situations, maybe if they got 2 losses, they might not get in. Especially like last season when they lost to Northern Illinois. If they would have lost another game, the committee probably would have left them out of the CFP. With them being independent. So I think the fact that they're independent, they got to do the necessary things to be able to get in there. And there will be it'll be easier for the committee to say no to Notre Dame than I think a 3-loss conference champion if they got 2 losses.
Not if we
That's my
expand to
opinion.
16. If we expand
No,
to
when we expand to
16,
16, then they good.
they in
probably
every
hope
year,
for.
bro. Every
They
year.
probably over there rooting like this with their power. I'm like, yes, go to 16. Anything else y'all want to talk about the Big Ten before we wrap it up?
I hope Notre Dame come though. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I mean it would be the best choice I think out of all the conferences for Notre Dame. You're already in the Midwest. You'll be able to face those Midwest teams. You'll probably face both of your Indiana schools every year, which will keep that money in the state of Indiana. I think that would be great. Before we go though, I want to get y'all's points or y'all's thoughts on conferences going to divisions. Now, are you saying, do you think they should go 2 divisions, 4 divisions? What's your thoughts? Should they go into divisions or should they just keep it the way we see it now?
Let me see how many teams we got in the Big Ten. 18.
18.
I wouldn't be mad if we went to if we added 2 teams and went 4. Kind of what you see with the OCC out here, 5 teams a division. You play every team every year that's in your division. If 4 teams, right? It's 4 teams. You play them 14, them other 4 teams in your division, and then you cross match every year. That way you can actually equalize the schedules. But you're gonna have your certain teams that should play them certain teams every year, like Ohio State, Michigan. They need to play every year. Who's another one? Washington and UCLA and USC. You could keep all them teams in one conference so they could play each other every year, and it helps with travel as well too. But I'm just saying, like, it just makes sense to go divisions for real, but it got to be some type of form of equaling out the division. So, like, your perennial powers, let's say you take Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan. You might want to separate them all. And you know what I mean? You might want to separate them all. And you was talking about, last week, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, and them getting rid of the conference championship. You might be able to create these divisions and then turn it into whoever win the division, play this division, and you preset it. So it'd be like, all right, if this team win this division, they got to play each other and see who goes to the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And so on. And I don't know. I think that creates better parity in itself. And especially if you kind of construct these divisions correctly. It's a way to do it. I would have to look at it. I'm gonna actually write it down and figure it out. And do it, and tell y'all my thoughts on it. But yeah, I like divisions. I don't know if it'll work for the SEC though. That's the thing that you got to tell me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I just know in the Big Ten, I got a whole idea in my head that it'll work out.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. As like FanDuel just said, as long as you construct the 2 different divisions properly, then there should be no problem. You should get the best results you can get if you construct it properly. Emphasis on that. So I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, as far as the SEC is concerned, I think they should go into 4 divisions. They got 16 teams. I think they should go into 4 divisions. I think the way it's been before Texas and Oklahoma even got there, you already had your sort of like rivalries in the conference. So I think it'll be pretty easy to split it up. I mean, I think you can have your Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas A&M in one. Now, somebody's going to have to take Bum Vanderbilt. Somebody's going to have to take, I ain't going to call Kentucky bums, but they're not at the top. Missouri. So you're gonna have one conference that's probably gonna be really pretty weak, but then the other three will probably be strong. You'll probably have that Missouri team out there with somebody who that conference that side will probably be pretty weak. The one where you have Georgia, Florida, and you have Tennessee and maybe South Carolina, that kind of thing. You can have three solid ones and probably one is probably gonna be it's gonna be mid. So, but I think it should be done. I definitely think they should do that. And since the SEC is going to have to go to 9 games eventually, that'll be a good way to do that because you can play. If they go to that setup, you can play this conference, and this in your own conference. I mean division. So you can play one division. You can play 2 of the teams. The other division, you can play 2 of the teams, and then the other division, you can play 2 of the teams, and then flip-flop it the next year, or do a home-and-home for 2 years, and then go get the other 2 for home-and-home. So you'll be playing everybody in a 4-year span, and always play your division teams every year. I think that's what they probably should do. If I made any sense.
Nah, that made sense. And the way it could properly be constructed is, I'm just looking at it. It's like I would just take Northwestern, Purdue, UCLA, and probably Maryland and separate them all, and then I just start building the divisions out from there. You know what I mean? You take your bottom 4, you separate them, so don't know one team gonna have 2 cupcakes on their schedule every year, and then you just build it out.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, y'all. Well, that's all I had, man. I'm glad y'all was able to join. This is going to be what we're going to basically talk about every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. What's happening in college football is going to be the title of the show. We appreciate our sponsors. Super Cat Nano, KT's Good Eats, LLC, Social Nutrition Sips and Good Conversation, and the Chief Apparel line. Thank you so much for sponsoring our show this morning, What's Happening in College Football, Episode 1. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all.
For sure.
Peace.
Uh.